It's 5 a.m. The world is still asleep. The streets are silent. But there's a fire burning in the heart of someone who refuses to waste their life. This is not just a story about superheroes. This is not just about a man in a suit of armor. This is about pain. This is about failure. About being broken, alone, lost. This is about choosing not to stay down. This is the story of a man who was a genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, but who became something far greater when life stripped away his comfort and threw him into a cave in the middle of nowhere. And alongside his story, we're going to bring in the mindset, the fuel that drives champions like Tom Brady, the grit, the fire, the hunger, the moments when nobody believes in you, when you're the backup quarterback on a team that never wins, or when you're stuck in a dark cave building a suit with scrap metal. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of making excuses, if you're ready to stop wasting your life, then this journey is for you, because greatness has a cost. When we first meet Tony Stark, he's everything the world praises: rich, charming, brilliant. He walks into a war zone in a suit worth more than most people's lives, surrounded by cameras and soldiers who adore him. But then, boom, reality hits. The same weapons he created, the empire he built, betray him. He's kidnapped, injured, bleeding, and chained inside a dark, freezing cave in Afghanistan. This is the moment most people break, but not him. Because sometimes the greatest change begins with the greatest pain. Yinsen, the quiet scientist, saves Tony's life. But more importantly, he saves his soul. You're a man who has everything, Yinsen tells him, but has nothing. Those words hit hard, so Tony doesn't cry. He doesn't give up. He doesn't scream, "Why me?" Instead, he builds. He takes scrap metal and forges his escape, not just from the cave, but from his old identity. That moment, right there, is when Iron Man is born. Not when he flies, not when he fights, but when he decides, "I'm not going to die here." That's lesson one. When life buries you, dig yourself out. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the right tools. You don't even need hope. You just need to begin. Because when your back is against the wall, when the world turns its back on you, when no one's coming to save you, that's when your new life begins. Tony built a suit. What are you building? Your discipline, your health, your business, your mindset. Every second you spend complaining is a second lost from building your way out. And when Tony finally blasts through those cave doors covered in smoke and fire, it's not just metal he's wearing, it's purpose. The suit is killing him, the world is doubting him, and the man inside the armor is crumbling. Tony Stark had become a symbol, not just of power, but of perfection. A genius, billionaire, superhero. The whole world watched his every move, every step, every smile. But what they didn't see was the pain. Inside, Tony was dying. The arc reactor in his chest, the very technology that kept him alive, was slowly poisoning him. His blood was becoming toxic. Every heartbeat was a countdown. But he smiled anyway. He drank. He partied. He cracked jokes in front of cameras. He hosted the Stark Expo like a rock star. But deep down, he was preparing to die. That's what most people don't see when someone is truly strong. That the strongest people often fight the hardest battles in silence. It is hard. It's hard to show up and put on a brave face when your body is failing you. It's hard to keep performing when the world expects perfection and you feel like you're falling apart. That's the exact mindset Tony faced. And it's the same kind of pain that every champion must overcome. There will be a time in your life when you're standing in front of the mirror and asking, "Is this it? Am I done?" The world might see your glory, but it won't see your grind. The world claps when you succeed, but it's silent when you cry alone. Life is hard, no matter who you are. Tony tried to find meaning, not just in surviving, but in legacy. That's why he passed the expo over to Pepper. That's why he recorded messages for the future. That's why he tried to fix things with the people he loved. He was preparing for the end. But even at his worst, Tony didn't stop creating. He didn't stop working. He looked at the toxic readings and said, "I can solve this." And that's the lesson. When your back's against the wall, when your body's giving up, you don't quit. You pivot, you build, you evolve. Focus on what you can control. Tony couldn't stop the poison immediately, but he could keep fighting. He could keep inventing. And that's when he discovered his father's hidden message, a new element that could save his life. You see, greatness doesn't come from ease. It comes from adversity. You don't become Iron Man when things are smooth. You become Iron Man when things fall apart and you refuse to stay down. No one's good at everything. Even Tony Stark, the world's smartest man, needed help. He leaned on Nick Fury, on Natasha Romanoff, and eventually, he accepted that he couldn't do everything alone. That's another lesson. Even superheroes need a team. Even legends need support. So when you fall, and you will, ask yourself, who's in your corner? Who do you trust? And more importantly, do you trust yourself enough to get back up? Be proud of that man that wakes up every day and does the best that he could do. Tony did exactly that. With death staring him in the face, he reinvented himself. Again, he created the new element, fixed the arc reactor, saved his own life, and came back stronger. But not for applause, not for the headlines. He came back because he knew there was more to do. Because he wasn't done yet, and neither are you. The mindset is me versus me. Tony wasn't fighting Whiplash. Not really. He was fighting himself. His past, his mistakes, his ego, his fear of death. And once he defeated that, no enemy could stop him. So when your suit starts to fail, when your health slips, when the world says you're finished, remember Tony Stark. Remember that even the strongest can fall, but the real measure of greatness? Getting up anyway. Sometimes life takes away everything. Your power, your armor, your identity, just to show you what you're really made of. Tony Stark wasn't in the suit anymore. He was just a man, alone, no tech, no backup, no Avengers, just stripped to the core. And what was left? Raw will, unbreakable focus, and heart. After the Battle of New York, Tony changed. He couldn't sleep. He had panic attacks. The man who once flew into war zones now couldn't walk through a crowd without breaking down. Even heroes get haunted. When trauma strikes, when the past follows you, when your greatest battles aren't outside, but inside, that's when you discover who you really are. Iron Man 3 wasn't just about a villain. It was about a man trying to hold himself together when everything around him was falling apart. You don't know what you're capable of until life strips you down to zero. Tony's house? Destroyed. His suit? Gone. His identity? Shaken. He ended up in Tennessee with a dead battery and a 10-year-old kid. And yet, he got up. He built a prototype suit from scrap parts in a garage. He used his brain, his hands, and his grit. He turned fear into fuel. He turned pain into power. That's what true warriors do. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create strength out of nothing. The world doesn't owe you anything. Tony realized something critical. The armor wasn't Iron Man. He was. And that's the truth most people miss. You think success is about tools, status, or resources. It's not. It's about mindset, drive, belief. Take everything away from a real champion, and they'll build it back stronger. Because they know one thing: I am the foundation. Don't be afraid to break. Tony was broken, mentally, emotionally, physically, but he didn't run. He didn't give up. He faced the pain. He felt the fear. He looked at the void and said, "Not today." That's the mark of greatness. Champions don't pretend they're unbreakable. They just refuse to stay broken. So if you're feeling lost, tired, anxious, good. That means you're human. That means you're alive. But the question is, what will you do about it? The fire that nearly kills you can be the one that forges you. Tony didn't defeat the Mandarin with a suit. He used his wits, his courage, and his refusal to die. He turned ordinary objects into weapons. He turned vulnerability into strength. When the chips are down, when there's no backup, no suit, and no help, that's when your true character is revealed. And for Tony Stark, it was never the armor that made the man. It was the man who made the armor. Don't tell the world you're coming back. Show them. At the end of Iron Man 3, Tony made a bold decision. He destroyed every one of his suits. He didn't need them to feel powerful anymore. He had grown beyond them. That's what transformation looks like. He lost everything, rebuilt himself, and chose to let go of what no longer served him. It wasn't the end of Iron Man. It was the beginning of something greater. And so it is for you. You are not your job, not your car, not your status. You are your choices. And every day you have one choice: to stay broken or to rise again. Tony Stark created the Iron Man suit. But over time, the world forgot who created it and started worshiping what he created. That's the danger of success. People fall in love with your results and forget the real story. The nights you cried, the failures you hid, the pressure that nearly broke you. But deep inside, Tony always knew, I am more than the mask. I am more than the metal. True power isn't loud. It's silent confidence. When you rely on your tools, your title, your social status, you're hiding. You're pretending to be untouchable. But the moment you're stripped of those things, what's left? Just you. Naked, real, exposed. And that's where the journey begins. Because growth doesn't happen in the suit. It happens when you take it off and ask yourself, without all this, who am I? I am Iron Man. Not because of the suit, not because of the tech, but because of the mind that created it, the heart that powered it, the will that never gave up. Tony wasn't born strong. He was born flawed, arrogant, selfish, impulsive. But pain shaped him, loss changed him, war humbled him, and little by little, the man behind the mask became the man who could carry the world on his shoulders. There's always a cost for greatness. Tony paid it. Sleepless nights, broken relationships, public humiliation, facing death again and again. But still, he chose to keep going. That's what real heroes do. They don't chase applause, they chase meaning. The real you is stronger than your armor. The moment you stop performing for others and start living for truth, that's when your life begins. Tony didn't build the suit to become a god. He built it to protect people, to redeem himself, to be better. And in the process, he discovered something most people never find: purpose. Success will tempt you to hide behind your image, but purpose forces you to stand in your truth. Tony's mask gave him power, but it also gave him isolation. Every time he took it off, he had to face his demons, the ones no suit could protect him from. That's your story too, because you wear a mask every day, smiling when you're sad, acting strong when you're breaking inside, pretending like you have it all figured. But strength isn't pretend. It's being real. It's being raw. It's being you. So here's the truth. You don't need a suit to be powerful. You don't need validation to be valued. You don't need perfection to be worthy. You just need courage to show the world who you really are. No filters, no masks, no armor. Just you. Because the man behind the mask is enough. And when you finally believe you'll become unstoppable. Greatness demands sacrifice, not just of comfort, but of the ego, the easy way, and sometimes even love. Tony Stark's journey wasn't just about building the Iron Man suit. It was about what he had to give up to become the hero the world needed. Sometimes you have to lose everything to gain what matters. When Tony was kidnapped, his life as a careless billionaire vanished in an instant. His world shattered, and from the ruins rose a new purpose. But it came at a price. The price of sacrifice is pain. Leaving behind a life of luxury, enduring torture and fear, facing enemies more powerful than you imagine. Tony didn't just sacrifice possessions. He sacrificed his pride, his ego, even his old self. To build a legacy, you must be willing to lose your past. Every time you grow, you lose a part of who you are. Comfort zones, toxic friendships, limiting beliefs. They all die so you can be reborn. Sacrifice isn't glamorous. It's lonely. It's exhausting. It's waking up every day and choosing the hard path, even when the easy one is right. Tony sacrificed his innocence, replaced by responsibility. His carefree life, replaced by constant danger. His selfish desires, replaced by the needs of others. And through this sacrifice, he found his strength. Sacrifice means choosing what matters most, even when it hurts. You can't have greatness without sacrifice. You can't protect what you love without giving up what you love. What are you willing to sacrifice? Your time, your comfort, your excuses, your old habits, your doubts, your fears? Because true success requires sacrifice. Remember, sacrifice is not loss. It is the seed of your transformation. Tony Stark's sacrifice wasn't the end. It was the beginning of everything. After sacrifice comes rebirth. The moment you rise from the ashes stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. Tony Stark's journey shows us that transformation isn't instant. It's a process. A struggle between who you were and who you're becoming. Every ending is a new beginning. When Tony built the Iron Man suit, he didn't just create a weapon. He created a new identity, a symbol of hope, courage, and responsibility. Rebirth means shedding your old self, your doubts, your fears. It means stepping into the unknown with confidence, even when the path is unclear. Tony's legacy wasn't just the Iron Man suit or his inventions. It was his courage to change, his willingness to sacrifice, and his hope that the world could be. Legacy is not what you leave for people. It's what you leave in people. Your legacy is the impact you have on others' lives. It's the inspiration, the lessons, the love you share. So ask yourself, How will your story inspire others? What will you be remembered for? How will you keep the flame alive? Remember, legacy is built daily through small acts of courage and kindness. Every step forward adds to your lasting mark on the world. Your story is just beginning. Make it legendary.